welcome to the Great Awakening. Now, if any of you tune into the mainstream media or even other forms of media, you will find that there's always a crisis going on. Now, I've made a few notes because there's so many things going on. What I would point, I'd like you to do further due diligence on some of these businesses or companies that I mentioned. There's obviously Raytheon and there's Lockheed Martin. British Aerospace, anything pertaining to weapons of mass destruction. And then linked in with that, because they obviously have great partners in this, are the wars, the Ukraine war, the Israel Hamas war, the Red Sea attacks with the Yemen's Houthini, whatever label they've been presented by mainstream media. You will find there's always this divide and conquer, the distractions going on. Now, the main thing that you and I need to focus on now are obviously the massive disruptions going on in France and Belgium and other major countries, including now the UK, to do with the farmers, because of what the puppet masters, who are the government. Yeah, all governments are puppet masters to the cabal, the World Economic Forum, whatever label again you want to give them, the billionaires, the millionaires, those are the people that so-called control us minions and what's going on. And they are ultimately wanting to reduce the population and then to control it, fast tracking us to China pretty much. And I'm not bad-mouthing China, because I'm sure there's wonderful things in China when it comes to track and trace, which Blair's behind. I think maybe you need to reconsider things. I often say, get to know your local farmers now or pay your doctors more later. So there's a great massive woke agenda going on. Labour's pretty much pushing that through Starmer, who's also been educated through the World Economic Forum, so he's become one of their leaders. There's the climate hoax. Is that true? What's going on? Well, it used to be called the global warming, but then they shift that agenda to climate change, because then they can pin it down to anything. So as soon as we have high temperatures anywhere, they'll focus on that, even though they've moved from measuring air temperature to ground temperature, which is a big shift. But again, do your own homework. Don't believe anything that I'm telling you. What I'd like to do is to remind you that you and I are consistently being bombarded with further lies and disinformation and even malinformation. Oh, you might want to do your homework on that word as well. So what else we got? The fuel shortage that we had. Remember the fuel shortage that occurred a few years ago? And again, nobody has been made accountable for this. There never was a fuel shortage, but the media, through the BBC et al., told us that there was. Obviously, then you had the toilet paper, and so you had loads of unconscious people running out buying loads of toilet paper and hand sanitizer because we're going to be short on that. These are just psyops, by the way. And then we had the COVID cult era, which was still kind of in, where people bought into that you would be protecting granny and doing your bit for humanity, etc. Again, more lies, more deceit, more misinformation, disinformation, malinformation, because there was no science. And the biggest hoax news of 2021 was safe and effective, promulgated via mainstream media and managed through YouTube et al. So I've got a lot of confusion. A lot of it's relating to divide and conquer, because remember, obviously for many, many years, the quote-unquote enemy was thousands of miles ago in a metal container that contained either chemicals, bioweaponry, or it would contain radiation. And then it became my neighbour, my next door neighbour, who could then become my enemy, because maybe they could pass on to me something which is basically labelled as the flu, the cold, yeah, which, if anything, actually improves your immune system, assuming that you've got enough vitamin D, enough vitamin C, enough zinc, enough omega, and ultimately the first brain ultimately is the gut. Yeah, that's where over 70 to plus % of our immune system is housed, but we're not empowered to take radical responsibility for what we consume. So there's a lot of information in this video, but what I want to do is to invite people to do their own homework on what I've presented and to see what is unfolding. And we, We are causing this. So now the farmers are up in arms, and the UK farmers have started to make a stance, followed along line with that was happening in Europe, because we are constantly being bombarded with information that is not in alignment with our health and well-being. Politicians couldn't give a iota about your health and well-being. Only your local community could. Well, I should say your local community, only you. It always starts with self. So take radical responsibility to how you think, how you breathe, what you drink, when and what you eat, when you go to bed, and when you undertake what I call daily creative movement or exercise. And that is the start of your incredible journey. So there's a lot of silliness going on, and all I'd like to do is to remind you that you can take responsibility. You. So here's something which I really honestly want you to, for this to land for you. What's yours to do? What's not yours to do? And just get involved with what's yours to do. You can't control necessarily the outside, but you control the inside. Peace, health and happiness is an inside job. It's your job. That's my job. As always, enjoy the journey. Love and blessings. Bye for now.